All right. So I'm gonna keep running with this. So what I was trying to, I was going a little bit in different directions, but I have a little bit of a of like a salient theme or idea of what I was trying to express with this series. And so I was getting a little bit into like the word black, and I was talking about how that might be that's a clear example of some of the properties and what's appreciated as connotative and denotative language constructs, words, and expressions, and that there's great value in both what's denotative and connotative. And connotative would be like metaphorical, like metaphor, slang. That's connotative, and that might be, according to a book on poetry, the engine of the word units, the etymological word units that actually form what would be appreciated as denotative, descriptive, like actual something that's actually described, description is denotative. And actually that might be the more confusing thing, because when someone uses a metaphor appropriately and eloquently, you know beyond what you know exactly what they mean, and you actually know more about yourself for having heard them say something that cold, if it's really truly cold, like something metaphor or slang. But then things that are denotative, that are ostensibly clear enough, that are described, can be the most confusing thing. Have you ever had something more confusing than a business deal that went wrong? Because we're denotative, right? We're going out the numbers, right? This is what it costs, right? This is what I gave your ass, right? This is what you didn't give me, right? Or this is what you gave me that was bullshit, right? What's more confusing about that? What's more treacherous than that? What's more trifling than that? What's more dangerous than that? What's more unclear than that? As descriptive as denotative. So that's just an example of how even things that are denotative can be the most arbitrary and actually dangerous and damning things. Even things as clear as teaching young people 2 plus 2 had equal 4 that whole time, or maybe it did not equal 4, because it was still there to understand and reason for themselves and discover for themselves if in fact 2 plus 2 is 4. If is 2 plus 2 really 4? I still have yet to be convinced. I'm not saying it can't be 4, but I'm not saying it's only 4 is what I'm saying. So but then you have so that would be like a potent word, like the word black. But some things, and what I was saying is that I was reading a book about like witchcraft and magic, and a lot of people would write me off as soon as I say something like that. But we actually have access to these books now, because they're available for legal purchase, and it's not very hard to find them. And actually, like some places like used bookstores would probably have better ones than something fancy. But they're actually legal now, because we have rights now, and we have like the rights to like read and write now, and like read things that other people have written after reading different stuff. And so those are some of them that I look into, because I enjoy learning different things. And they say, and those have been available and not available at different times, but they come back as what's called like recrudescence, because it's part of the human experience and it's actually necessary. And I think that a better word than those words would be like maybe wise person, for someone that's versed in that. But then just subtle influence, is that the subtlest of things are actually the greatest of things. And so to have an appreciation for subtlety is what is referred to with that when it's real. And so in one of these books I was reading, that there's a word for a lot of things, they exist within like a current. So when you say certain words, or when you don certain attire, you make certain gestures, mannerisms, you're communicating symbolically, that registers deep on a primal subconscious, conscious, then subconscious, then unconscious, and primal throughout all that wavelength, as part of the history that has attended human experience, that has attended the other times a person has hearing you or seeing you, has heard or saw something like you as a reference, has heard that somewhere else, and the history. So when you say a word, someone's hearing you say that word, they're hearing that word, and they're appreciating the different time, the history that led up to you saying that word, then the history of other times that word has been used in their experience, that they're aware of, that they can imagine, that they're not aware of, that they can't imagine, that they're also aware of, and that they're not aware of, and they can't imagine, but it still can be perceived by them. All of that can be within a word or a clothing article or an idea. It's like the current of it, and that's actually a part of like subtle influences that would be called witchcraft or magic. Is that some people are versed to tap into that, and actually, if you can tap in, that some people that wouldn't appreciate themselves as witches or warlocks or wizards. I'm saying wise people. Another one would be like a mage. So like the influential YouTuber excellent YouTuber in my taste, Kevin Samuels, the late great. He had content. He changed my life and got me into thinking like and then becoming a professional. And it started with appearance, because at that time I was getting off into fragrance a lot. There had been like some advertising that was like promoting fragrance at that time, and I got into a lot, and I could actually know a lot of different fragrances that he would mention, and I vibed with him in the style he was into and the fragrance stuff. But actually he did one piece where he was talking about image and pointing out that word mage, image. There's a magical component to that, and actually our image can be very magical for the greatest and the most atrocious of outcomes in our life, depending on if it suits us or not. And a lot of what's happening to like people of color in the United States, which color is another arbitrary term that actually might be egregious in some senses, because at different times that's a status designation in both the United States and in Africa that marginalizes a person and dismisses some of their actual privileges, entitlement, and standing as human beings and members of the earth. When that word color is applied, but for communication, some of us people in the United States and the world, in Western societies in the world now, when we have the entire image of a people is affected by media and art and attitudes and mores, and that actually can be applied to a member of a group that would fit that description. And so it's kind of like when the police are looking for a person of a description, oh, there go that description right there, let's send him away forever, if not give him the electric chair. Based on that, you can actually be given the down. It stands to reason that the electric chair or a firing squad or lethal injection can, or incarceration, and like the different brutalities that would come with certain paperwork on your jacket as being incarcerated. All that can come to you as a function of your appearance, if you were misidentified by a law officer above the law, or maybe someone outside of the law that can still put down penalty, can happen as image. And Kevin Samuels spoke a lot about that. But all I'm saying is, like, so sometimes when you're actually hitting for something and you're getting colder with your image, or you're just getting more effective in life, it's actually because you're tapping into some of these currents on one level or another in whatever field you're into. And that can be fashion, but some of it has a different history than it would be appreciated. So some of the currents of different things, I think that a lot of things have a genocidal current in our life. So I say that this hat, like, a lot of people would like this hat when I wear it. It looks a little bit like a gardener hat, or a cowboy, or like a cowboy hat, maybe even a detective hat, but it also looks a little bit like a boonie hat, like from the time of different war conflicts. They would wear something like this in the military, or it would be issued like in a military, like a military member might be issued something like this. For it might actually be practical in some of the rigors and duties that they would undergo in different military different nations. Like their military they'd have a reason to wear it, but yet it does communicate the undertone of that military undertone. And I would say, by and large, military is bad for life and for human, and it kills people, and it stops the prospect of living for different people. Sometimes you have different members of a military. It might not be appreciated as a genocide, but you have an only child serving there somehow, and they lose their life at a young age. Their line of family, their own family, maybe they came from someone that was the only child. Their line of family is now severed, and their life. So that particular family was genocided by that military episode. Whatever they believed in or wanted to or didn't want to be conscripted, they were now they were ceased. They were severed like that. So that's genocidal. So I think a lot of the military themes that actually people enjoy, that think are cool, actually have a genocidal undertone. Another one is like the hoodies that people think are so cool, like in the United States, and that actually has overtones of like hooded knights showing up at people's homes. And actually a lot of the music now, where people would listen to that music and then wear hoodies like that, and those hoodies go with the aesthetic of the music. The music also has themes about laying outside people's houses and victimizing civilians in their home who don't pose a threat, similar to how knighted to members with hoods would have done in different iterations of American experience. So I'm just pointing out some of those overtones and what people think is cool. And then also, like I've said, that a lot of things with trends and what lands, and what I think the internet apparatus skews for is Eurocentrism by and large. Like I had a video where I had like blonde extensions, because I actually do have European ancestry that I'm proud of, but I had blonde extensions, and that video gets more traction because it more so skews Eurocentric. So a lot of things that actually hit are somehow a little bit Eurocentric and sometimes genocidal also. And there's history, intermingling history within that might not be apparent.